Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Hannaford Supermarket's presentation of our retail management training program. My name is Matt Rothman, and I am here representing Hannaford, and I'm also a graduate of our retail management training program from 2007. So I have a lot of vested interest in this program, but also a lot of history and knowledge that I can share with you. And I am excited to do just that. So without further ado, let's get started. Today is all about you. Really trying to answer any questions you have, make sure that if Hannaford is a place that you might want to find a career, we can help set you up on that successful path. And equally so, make sure this program is for you. So we're going to talk about Hannaford. We're going to talk about our parent company, Ahold Delhaize. Then we're going to talk about the RMT program, which is why you're all here. We'll then talk about the timeline and open it up for questions post. So, Hannaford Supermarkets, born and raised in 1883 in Portland, Maine, right on the Commercial Street waterfront. We started as a commercial wholesaler, and over the decades realized that if we owned our own storefronts, we actually could better service the communities that we were a part of. So over time, we acquired a number of stores, we dabbled into pharmacy, and we have had two successful acquisition-style mergers over the course of our lifetime to get us to be part of a very, very large global organization, which you'll hear more about today. So when looking at the footprint where Hannafords are located, we are in the Northeast in New York. So we are in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, in New York. We have 184 stores currently today, with more on the horizon. And based on where the number of stores are in our market, you can see we have predominant market share in Maine, most of New Hampshire, and Vermont. Again, we grew up in Maine, so clearly that's where we are our strongest. And then you can see we're number 2 in the greater Albany market, and lagging in the northern Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire market, obviously due to competition and the volume of stores, but just to give you a little scope of where we are across our footprint. So this is the fun slide, right? We're a grocery store, but we're more than a grocery store. So at Hannaford Supermarkets, we really try to be innovative, be fresh, and be relevant to the consumer. So a few years ago, we launched our first loyalty program. It was also the first of its kind 100% digital rewards program. The benefit of this is there is no paper, there is no membership number. It's tied to your cell phone, and it's tied to an account and an app that you have. On that, we track all of the shopping history that customers have, and then we can target coupons directly to them. So not only do we offer our customers manufacturer coupons like you'd find in your typical circular that would be coming out in the mail, but we also, based on your shopping history, every month will target specific coupons, some free and some with discounts off of things that you already buy, or possibly complementary items that will help round out that basket. So we really try to be deliberate with that program and really try to provide the best benefit to our customers and associates. Customers get a 2% cash back on any private label items that they purchase, while associates get a 6% cash back on any private label items they purchase. So for me and my family, each quarter, that's about $90 to $100 in cash back that I earn just from my daily shopping trips, outside of the discounts and the coupons that I get on a regular basis. Something else at Hannaford that we're really proud of is our e-commerce. So fun fact, Hannaford actually started home delivery in the late 90s. It was called Hannaford Home Runs. And at the time, it was before its time. So it was something that people didn't necessarily think was something they needed. So we got out of that business, and then fast forward to today, it is clearly something that everyone has needed and needs. So currently, we have over 100 of our stores that have a click and collect model set up by which our associates shop the groceries, package them, and get them ready for the customer. And the customer orders through the same interface within our app. Obviously, in the last 2 years, we had to expand our reach. and find a solution for that last mile delivery. So we're partnered with Instacart and Shipt across our footprint to ensure that we can deliver groceries to our customers as well as shop them for our customers. So we really can kind of meet our customer wherever they're at to service them from their grocery shopping needs. And the last piece here that I'd like to punctuate is that we are priced right and we're also a selling organization. And when I say that, you would think, well, yes, you sell groceries, so you must be a selling organization. But that's something that we really took a hard look at in the last decade and put a lot of emphasis on refining our assortment in each store we were in based on the consumers that shop there. We've had this thought process for the longest time. We want to be the one place where you can come and complete your full shop. But we found in certain markets, consumers would still need to go to a local market or somewhere else within the community to get those staples that they needed. So we looked across our footprint and we created multiple, we call them clusters of stores that have certain assortments to meet the demographics of the consumer base that are shopping in those stores. That has not only grown sales in those stores, it's also grown loyalty within the customer base because now they don't have to go to 3 different stores to complete their weekly shopping. They can just shop with us. The other really fun piece to this is price right. So you'll find if you go into some competitors or just some supermarkets in general, or even retailers, some weeks something's on sale, the next week something is substantially higher, and it kind of fluctuates high and low. We like to position ourselves as an everyday low price retailer. So we really try to work with our vendors to create long-term buying contracts so we can extend a great price to our consumers week after week. So in this flyer, you'll see below the WOW for weeks, those are best prices in market compared to the stores that are considered our key competition in those markets. And those are prices that are kept in for weeks at a time. So those are just a couple of those things that we really try to hang our hats on and think that set us apart from a differentiation perspective. So when we're talking about Hannaford supermarkets, it's good to remind you all and ground you all that we are a retail grocery chain, right? So in that large picture, you can see a grocery store. We have 30,000 associates within our organization. And out of those 30,000 associates, all but about 400 of them work in retail every day to make this organization what it is. Those other 400 or so work in the following departments: marketing strategy, category merchandising and pricing, our retail services department, human resources, and finance. So within our greater organization of Hannaford, those are areas where our associates look to aspire to grow and continue within the organization beyond their time spent at retail. So let's pause for a second. I told you we would learn about Hannaford. I also told you we would learn about Ahold Delays. So let's take a moment to learn about Ahold Delays.
One family, one strong family of great local brands, each nourishing its own communities, each with its own history, but sharing a rich heritage. Serving customers fresh, healthy food with personal service that's high touch, with professional service that's high tech. We decided to move forward together, hand in hand. We're learning from each other every day, inspiring one another, inventing, building new connections, sharing a vision, creating something unique together. Success is never guaranteed. Each of us put in a lot of hard work, and every day, we all work hard to be better places to shop, better places to work, and to be better neighbors. We've made a good start and overcome many challenges. Now, we're looking forward to a fresh future filled with opportunity. So let's all keep pushing ahead together, because each and every one of us has a hand in our success. We are Ahold Delays, and we are, today and tomorrow, better together.
half the reason I share that video is just to remind myself and the audience how to properly pronounce our global parent company's name, Ahold Delhaize. So Ahold Delhaize is one of the world's largest food retailing groups. In 2016, we had a merger between Ahold and Delhaize, which brought together, at the time, 21 different brands, which have now kind of dwindled down to 19 great local brands. But just some high level numbers, over 400,000 associates worldwide, over 7,100 stores. When you look at those numbers, that's a big impact. And to think that, yes, we're talking about Hannaford supermarkets and a retail training program within that brand, we are part of a much larger ecosystem, and there's a lot that comes with that. So our Ahold Delhaize really is looking in the future to continue to grow omni-channel growth. So that is the e-commerce, the buy online, pick up in store. It's the ability to use whatever modality possible to start and finish your order and get your groceries wherever, whenever. Equally so, we're looking to continue to elevate healthy and sustainability practices. So if that is from the packaging that our groceries come in, or the way our eggs are harvested, or the benefits we offer our associates, we are continuously trying to evolve there. Equally so, we're doing what I'm doing today, trying to find the best possible talent to lead this organization today and into the future. And that's really what this RMT program is all about. And then obviously, operational excellence, right? To run a business, you have to be operating at the top of your game. So we continue to try to find ways to refine, sharpen, and do better day after day. So at a high level overview, this gives you some scope of the breadth of Ahold Delhaize. So starting on the left-hand side, in the contiguous US, we do have 5 other brands: Food Lion, Stop and Shop, Giant, the Giant Company, and Hannaford. Those are all retail grocery chains. But then we also have Fresh Direct, which, if anyone is out of the New York metro area, that is a company that Ahold Delhaize acquired earlier this year, which is now added to our portfolio. And then we also have a few support companies that we'll talk about in a little bit. Equally so, over in Central Europe, we do have a fair amount of the original Ahold and Delhaize brands from Belgium and the Netherlands. And then we do have a few joint ventures, one in Portugal and one in Indonesia. So globally, 10 countries, 19 great local brands. Coming back to the US, this scatter plot kind of shows you where our stores are located roughly, and how there is some geographic overlap. And just some fun stats for the US, right? We are the largest retailer on the East Coast. We run through 23 different states. Right now, we have 19 distribution centers, but we're in the process of building and acquiring a few more. So by year end 23, we should have 28 different distribution centers up and down the East Coast, and have a full end-to-end supply chain solution. And over 2,000 stores and a couple 100,000 associates. So kind of a big deal within the greater US. So the support companies of Ahold Delhaize, obviously we talked about the different grocery brands, but to keep all of that happening, we have our own companies that are dedicated to those 5 grocery brands in the US. So AD USA Supply Chain was created earlier this year with the 3 sub-companies you see below it: distribution, transportation, and procurement. And ultimately, they do everything from placing the orders to replenishing the orders, getting them to our distribution centers, getting them to our stores and back for all 5 brands up and down the East Coast. It's a monumental undertaking, and it's a part of our organization that's continuing to grow currently. Retail Business Services is a support engine for the organization, really designed on all of those shared service areas. So human resources, large-scale finance, IT, people systems. So they service all 5 brands from that perspective. And then within that, we also have 2 fresh kitchens, a fresh meat packing plant, and a division that supports fuel sales at a few of our other grocery banners. And then we also have Peapod Digital Labs. So Peapod essentially is the e-commerce engine behind all 5 brands, and they are in the process of overseeing all of our private label products for all the brands, as well as our future in the digital and e-commerce space. So again, we're here to talk about Hannaford Supermarkets, but just to show you the scope of all of the different things that come together within our greater organization. So what we're here to talk about, Hannaford and the Retail Management Training Program. Are you ready? I hope so, because I am. So our leadership philosophy. This is a lovely picture right here. It's our current president and RMT graduate, Mike Vale, along with our store manager of our Cook's Corner Brunswick store, which is our newest store we opened this year. Why leadership matters. Great leaders create a business impact and bring out the best in people. And I think that is beyond the truth there. We have a great group of people that run our stores. We value our associates and we look to develop them. And equally so, you can see that in our associates when you're in store. How do we grow great leadership? We hire diverse people with exceptional talent, a passion for retail, and a potential to grow and lead. The purpose of this RMT program is to hire you all to be trained in retail, to hopefully lead in retail, but to do more than retail, to become leaders of this organization in different facets, and really start with that foundation of retail and see where you grow. And then what defines great leaders in our organization? Really, you have to be purpose-driven, value-based, and people-focused. This is a customer-centered business, and we are on display all day. And if that is something that is not for you, this program may not be for you. That said, if you do like people and you do like being out in the customer and being a leader, this could be a great avenue for you. So let's talk a little bit about the history. The RMT program has been around for over 50 years. Our first RMT started in 1968. He still shops in our Yarmouth main store on a regular basis. And he ended up becoming our organizational president and also the CEO, and served on the board of directors of Delays Group, which was our parent company pre our 2016 merger. As of today, we have over 100 graduates throughout our organization that came out of that program that are still with us, leading in various capacities. Our current president, our last 4 presidents of our organization were all graduates of the RMT program. The current president of Food Lion is a graduate of our RMT program. And there are a number of other graduates who are currently holding or have held senior executive level roles in a variety of other consumer packaged goods and grocery industry. So the objectives of the program, right? What are we trying to do with RMTs? We're trying to find students freshly out of school that have a passion for people, that want to learn, but also like a retail environment and want to be a leader. We are looking to train them, give you the foundations of how to be a leader, but also how to manage our business and help you grow into the leader that we believe you to be. Ultimately, we want you to become an assistant store manager for us, become a store manager for us, and then from there, figure out where your passions and skill sets lie within the organization and continue to grow your career in that area. And so we look at this RMT program as a way to hopefully find our next president, our next vice presidents, et cetera, et cetera. So what's so great about the RMT program? For anyone that knows Hannaford or has worked for Hannaford, I think our company culture is amazing. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here trying to pitch this to you all. I'm saying this because, like most of you, I never thought I would work in a grocery store, let alone have a career in grocery retail. But when I joined this company and on my first week in stores training in produce, I realized how much fun it was and how much people cared for me. And that was really something that helped me realize this is the place I wanted to be. Also, we have industry-leading support, mentorship, and sponsorship. Can't go into that enough, but I will in a future slide. But we really pair you up with organizational leaders, divisional leaders, and give you the resources to be successful. And then I think we have a competitive wage. We have a great benefits package, 401k, that whole thing. But we also have paid parental leave. We are looking to revitalize our tuition reimbursement programs. So again, trying to really be there for all of our associates. while still understanding that everyone has to put food on the table. And then I think it says something for our program that it's been around for over 50 years with some refinements over those years, but still the same core foundation, goals, and ultimate outcome. So I think that in and of itself is something to be proud of and to make you kind of think about it. But I'm going to pause for a second and not let me keep telling you about why the program is so great. I'm going to let you hear about it from some of our past graduates.
It's a great company. I joined this company because it had great training, it was a growing company, and it had like an awesome culture. And you can make some great money with the company too. And I think now, more than ever, I think how we treat our associates and in how we treat our communities that we work in is kind of what keeps you. It's a company you can feel proud of, and a company that, you want your parents to come through, your friends to come through. Like, this is my Hannaford.
My favorite part was all the parts. I loved the program. I loved my whole time being an RMT, getting to meet people and getting to know my other RMT peers.
You learn from the best in every department and really get down to the nuts and bolts of what makes a grocery store run.
I chose the RMT program because I had worked at a few companies where the senior leaders had no experience or knowledge what happened at the front lines. And I was really impressed with what Hannaford offered and how many senior leaders within the companies were former RMTs.
I chose the Hannaford RMT program because Hannaford was a great local company, and really the opportunities professionally were endless. If you wanted to work in real estate, you could work in real estate. If you wanted to work in marketing, you could work in marketing. And if you wanted to work in retail operations, you could work in retail operations. And I didn't know many other companies that were providing training programs that would really give you the opportunity to diversify your career as dynamically as you could at Hannaford.
You get what I call street cred out of that, because when you're working side by side with an associate and you understand their struggles and their everyday work habits, and you really want to make room to improve those, and you listen to what they have to say for opinions, they immediately respect you, whereas some other companies don't give you that opportunity. And so when you come in as a leader, you're not just leading people, you're leading people with the understanding of what they're going through in a day-to-day.
It's great to see really the passion that people have about this industry.
It's probably one of the best things that's happened to me in my professional career, especially because people don't think as retail industry as being glamorous or anything like that, but it's just been incredibly rewarding. It's a people business at the very focus and at the very heart. And I think all of our leaders in the organization are aligned on that. So if you love people, I think it's the right business for you.
You're really only responsible to learn for yourself, and that's unique. Not many companies really dedicate that much time and have this much structure, and their support on the retail side, their support on the corporate side, their support all the way around. Having gone through it, you also realize how much effort and attention it gets, but also how much an organization values the individuals that they select to put through this training. It's a very big deal.
It is a very big deal. So let's talk about the nuts and bolts of this program. So it is a 3-year rotational leadership development program, again, with the end game to get you schooled up to be a retail leader, but with the future focus that you will be a leader in the greater organization post your time in retail. part of that video was trying to show you people with various backgrounds. So it started out with Brent, who once he got to the store manager role, he has been happy and content and hasn't looked back and wants to stay there and do that till he retires. And then you can see there were a variety of others that no longer work for Hannaford, but work for other parts of the greater organization, be it in contract management, cybersecurity. So again, there are opportunities to continue to grow and develop beyond the program and beyond Hannaford within our greater infrastructure. So back to the program. Year one. Year one is all about the technical training. So we put you in roughly a 57-week training program where all you are supposed to do is show up and learn. Be a sponge, absorb, ask questions, and learn each department you work in with the expectation that you need to understand how the job is done, but more importantly, how to lead and manage those in there and how to assist them in being successful in their roles. We're going to teach you how to slice deli meat, but we're not going to expect you to be slicing deli meat on a regular basis, right? We're going to show you what cuts of meat are so you can articulate that to consumers and so you know what should and should not be in the case, but we're not going to sit here and expect you to be on a bandsaw cutting meat on a regular basis. So there's a few various pieces to that. But when we say you will learn all aspects of retail, you will start on the front end and you will bag groceries. While that doesn't seem glamorous, there is a lot to learn from that. And it's also the place where customer service starts and ends. That's with our front end. So it's a very, very critical part of our organization. During that first year of technical training, at approximately the 6-month mark, you will be added to a strategic project within the organization, and you'll work with those cross-functional teams in tandem with your training for about 6 to 8 months, kind of finishing up your training while supporting a project. Cool piece about that is that it gives you exposure to the greater organization, kind of dipping your feet into how it is to work with cross-functional teams across various parts of the organization to deliver upon something that has strategic value to our organization. At years 2 and 3, this is when the gloves kind of come off. You are no longer training. Now you're a salary assistant store manager, and you're overseeing either the fresh side of the business or the center store side of the business, and that's yours. You have 50 to 150 associates who directly or indirectly report to you, and you're responsible for that aspect of the store that you're in. During those next 2 years, we're going to purposefully have you spend some time in the assistant store manager or fresh side, purposely have you spend some time on the center store side to really help you show to yourself and also to us that what we trained you on, you know, you can execute on, you can lead those people effectively. During that years 2 and 3, we will find an opportunity to peel you out and have you work on a project for 3 to 6 months. This is different from the strategic project workstream, whereas this will be something that you personally are added into as an associate in a department. So an example of one I have starting first of the year for one of our associates, she is going to join our social media team and be a social media specialist on the marketing team for 5 months, helping them revamp and revitalize some stuff there. We had another associate earlier this year that supported our finance team for about 5 months to cover some gaps there. Both of those associates broke away from their productivity and out of training and participated 40 hours a week for both those departments, working to get that experience and that exposure to understand if those are areas they want to grow in the company. We also do our best to try to align that with your skill sets and interests, as well as organizational need. So in this case, the associate that supported finance had a degree in finance. The associate who's supporting marketing has a degree in marketing and had done some social media work. So we try to be as deliberate as we can for 2 reasons. One, to keep you as a trainee engaged, but also so you can perform at your highest potential, right? If you already have a skill set within marketing, well, let's put you there and leverage it versus putting you in a different part of the organization where you're going to have to start from ground one and learn up. So there's those 2 years of that real, what we're calling leadership development. And then ultimately at the end of 3 years, it's the program is kind of concluded and it's all about you and where do you want to evolve your career. So at that point, you're still an assistant store manager, but we would be encouraging you to be applying for store manager roles, for specialist roles, for other roles within our home office. Essentially, we don't want you to stay in the ASM role. We want to train you, have you proficient there, and then have you grow beyond that. We really want you to grow beyond that wherever you feel like you can provide the most value to the organization and also feel most personally fulfilled. So, learning groups. I just spent all last week in our corporate office with the lovely individuals you see present here. So what we do with our RMT class is throughout the 3 years, there are 9 learning groups where we bring all of our trainees from that class together to work on team bonding and building, to work on self-development, and then to also learn about the greater organization. So last week, all of our trainees had concluded at this point all of their fresh training. So we spent the entire week with our fresh our fresh category merchandising and pricing teams to really understand how those in our home office create strategy, get it to retail, and then how retail executes it. So it's that full life cycle. So from a trainee who lives in retail and only sees one side, they now get the exposure to see how that is created so they can see that full picture. And that only helps make those trainees better leaders. But also, it really helps to build their rapport within the store, because now they can speak more articulately to why things are happening and what's going on. But it also does serve as a great way for them to build their connections within the organization, especially within the mentorship that we provide to them. So speaking of that, support equals retention, right? That is something that we have been doing since we started this program, and that we feel really helps us stand apart and just knock it out of the park. So every trainee that starts gets assigned a store manager mentor, as well as a RMT mentor or a past retail management trainee. These 2 individuals are designed to be first line resources throughout the training. They're in stores with the RMT a considerable amount of time, because we try to put some of your training phases with those mentors, both the store manager and the RMT. So you have them there for that support throughout the duration of your program. Equally so, you get an executive sponsor. And when I say executive sponsor, it might be the senior vice president of merchandising, the VP of HR. I mean, these are real deal executive sponsors or executives within our organization who are putting in dedicated time to connect with you one-on-one on a regular cadence to help you be successful within the organization. And then you also get me as the program manager. I am dedicated support for the first 3 years, to the extent that I get text messages on the weekends and nights about different things, but I am here to support the trainees through this entire life cycle to ensure that, one, Hannaford is delivering upon our commitment to you, but that equally so that you're having as much fun working for us as we hoped you would. So let's circle back and talk about strategic projects and assignments, because I think this is really, really important. So we talked about the project work streams for that first year. And actually, this morning, we just had that class present their projects to the greater organization. So one of the good pieces about that strategic project work stream is not only are we putting you with other leaders so you can actually be a working part of the team and try to deliver upon some aspects of that project, but you then get an opportunity to present who you are, what you did, what your findings were, the outcomes, and then how it impacted you to the greater organization at large, right from the president and his staff down. So it not only do you have an opportunity to play in a different space outside of just the day-to-day training and retail, but you also get an opportunity to tell your story to our president and his direct team about who you are and where you want to grow in this company, which is a really, really awesome opportunity. And then again, equally so, those temporary project assignments that you'll be part of in years 2 and 3, they're a really nice breakup within that years 2 and 3 from a training perspective, but it also offers you, again, hopefully a different look behind the curtains into some other areas of organization that you may want to aspire to grow down the road. Again, should you want to be a store manager forever or grow into a director of operations at retail and do something like that, we would obviously highly encourage it. But equally so, we're looking to, again, find people that want to do more than just run a store, and who at some point in their career want to have a larger impact. What you've all been wondering, what makes a great candidate for this program? I said it before, and I'll say it again, a passion for people. If you can't hold a conversation, if you can't keep eye contact, if just talking to a random stranger is something that gives you pause and anxiety, unfortunately, this might not be the role for you. As a trainee, the first 6 weeks, you're training on the front end. You might be in store X. The next 3 weeks after that, you're training in produce. You might be in store Y. The following week, you might be in a different store. So you're constantly being moved around, building new relationships, meeting new teams, understanding the different dynamics. But that can also be hard for some people. So it's one of those things where you need to look at yourself and say, do I have that ability? And is this something that I would be comfortable in? Obviously, we sell groceries, right? We provide a place for people to get healthy, affordable food options. We're not saying you have to be a master chef by any means, but if you really don't care for food and you can't have a conversation with somebody about the type of pie you would make, or the type of fruit you would like to eat, again, it might be hard to relate to the consumers. So just want to put that out there. If food isn't for you, may not be the program or the company for you. Equally so, you need to be a natural leader, or at least want to try to take that role. We are training you to manage people. I can't say that clearer if I try. We are training you to oversee 100+ direct reports. You have to be okay with being someone that people come to for questions, looking to for an answer, and to be a natural leader, and to lead them through something, even if it's by the seat of your pants. Humility. We put peas on the shelf, right? We are not brain surgeons. We are not solving, the climate crisis. We are simply providing people a safe place to get food and groceries. Sometimes it's not glamorous, but you have to be able to have fun at what you do. And equally so, you have to realize that there's more than just this one piece, and there's a larger part to that puzzle. And I think one of the biggest things that hurts an RMT when they come into the organization is they come in and they wear a red polo and they're like, wait a minute, I just graduated from school. I should be wearing a 3-piece suit. Well, if you can understand that the purpose of this program is to train you on the foundation to then become the president, that's when you can wear that 3-piece suit, then you've got it. But if you come in and you want to be a VP tomorrow, that's where we really need to take a good gut check relative to humility. And the last two, I think, are pretty self-explanatory, but obviously being a critical thinker and being able to problem solve, you are the person in charge of a lot of things in a store. Anyone who's worked for us will tell you we have standard practices on everything. There's always the right way and the wrong way to do that. That said, it's retail. Nothing ever goes as planned, and things happen on the fly. So you have to be able to be someone who can dynamically think and make a decision. And equally so, if you're posed with problems, objectively stand back, look at that, and try to figure out what makes the most sense for us at the time. So enough about that. Let's go to the last piece of this puzzle, which is the interview process. So this March, we intend to have the interview process. Unfortunately, it will most likely be virtual again, just due to existing restrictions. If it doesn't, we'll let you know when it could be in person. What we do, it's a 3-day long interview event where after we have done a number of preliminary screenings with our candidates, we bring roughly the top 30 candidates to a final round of interviews, and we have our top 20 leaders in the organization interview those candidates over 2 days. And then at the end of that, we, as a group, as a leadership team, look at all the candidates, decide who we think would be a good fit for the organization, and then we make you an offer to start that June in 2022. So some people would say, wow, there's a lot to this interview process and it seems very excessive. But again, we are looking for people who could serve in executive roles down the road. So we're really hoping that the right people will stick through that process, will shine in that process, and become trainees with us beyond that. So that said, I would love to open it up for questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I did see one question in the chat regarding stores coming to Louisiana. So I will say Hannaford has no intentions today of coming to Louisiana. And forgive my ignorance, are there Food Lions in Louisiana? Because if there are, Food Lion does have a similar program to Hannaford. They actually modeled their retail management training program after ours. Theirs is a 1-year program, so it starts with that first year of retail training. And so my apologies, Jennifer, I don't know as well. That said, if Food Lion was there in those states, they would have a program that could offer to you. However, I will say for this program, we do offer relocation. So if we do have the right candidate we choose to make an offer to, we do have a healthy relocation stipend that we will afford them to make the move. And we did have somebody move from Southern Texas 2 years ago, as well as some other ones throughout the East Coast that have made that transition. So another great question, when is the deadline for the program application? And forgive me, I know they're supposed to come in the QA, but they're coming into the chat. So I'm sorry if I'm reading them wrong. I will go to the QA next. So the deadline for program applications is December 31st, 2021. So the end of this calendar year, about 6 or so weeks remaining. So, all right, so we have a few questions from Paul that I will answer first. So Paul, a couple things. So the greatest challenge I faced in the program and how did I overcome it? My greatest challenge, ultimately, was me humbling myself. So I never thought I would work in grocery retail. I came into the organization and I found myself working in stores, stocking freight, having a blast. But then I would see people I went to school with coming in on their lunch breaks from the local law firm or insurance agency. And I'm like, oh, wow, they're working Monday through Friday and they look very fancy and put together. And I'm sitting here stocking groceries and sweating, right? But once I understood the kind of the forest in the trees and there was more to the program and more to my career progression than what I was currently seeing now, I look at some of those peers today and I'm making twice as much as them. They're still doing that same job, and I'm having a very fun, dynamic career. So to give you a brief little background, I spent 6 years in retail. I was an assistant. I ran a couple of our stores. I transitioned into our retail communications team, and I started leading that team. Then I took on some retail technology projects, pivoted that into a different role as a business specialist, kind of managing the flow of different projects throughout the organization, to then now wind up in human resources, overseeing early talent development, our RMT program, our internship programs, collegiate partnerships, et cetera. So a variety of different experiences that were all made possible by Hannaford that all started with this program that I never would have thought. A typical day in the program, great question. So that first year, you are training. You are at the mercy of your trainers and the needs of the business. So you might be working 6 a.m. to learn how to open the front end and get cash loaded in the tills. You might be coming in at 4 a.m. to bake muffins and bake bread. You also will be closing. You'll be spending time on night crew. So that first year is no day is the same. It fluctuates. It's not erratic because you have an understanding of what you're getting into, but there's a variety of different pieces there. Once the first year is done and you're placed as a salaried assistant, you have a lot more say in what your schedule is. Ultimately, you work with the leadership team in that store to ensure that there's coverage, but you work 5 days a week. Typically, you have one late night. You work 1 or 2 weekend days, depending on how you choose to structure that. But so there is a lot more flexibility. But when you're training, we're putting you with the best trainers in some of our best stores. So ultimately, if they need to be there to do the business, to do the job, but that's also when they can train you, that's when you are there. So there's a little bit of that. And I would say tips to stand out during the interview process. be yourself, but also know the company and know your stuff, right? This isn't one of those things that, hey, I'm just going to apply to everything. If you apply for this, you have to want it, because if you don't want it, you're not going to make it to the final round. But if you make it to that final round, you better come prepared to really be yourself. Don't be a bump on a log, but don't be overly excitable, and really kind of say, here's who I am, here's what I have to bring to the table. So another person, if we currently work for Hannaford and have experience, would we still be in the program for full 3 years? So answer is yes, with the exception, let's say you're fully trained on the front end. You may only spend 1 or 2 weeks in the front end, but you still have that full program duration. So the only thing we really take into consideration is we had somebody who was already a deli manager for us. Well, they don't need to do the deli manager phase, but that's only 4 weeks out of their overall training. So they still have the rest of that program time there. Another great question, are successful candidates paid throughout the 3-year training? Absolutely. We don't let you do anything for us unless you are paid. It's 45 hours a week, salary non-exempt for that first year. Again, I believe it's a competitive starting salary. But yes, you are paid throughout the full 3-year program. Equally so, there was another question asking around areas of proficiency, and can you bypass those? So ultimately, we only, if you know how to cashier, we're not going to have you spend time cashiering, but we are going to have you spend time with those leaders to continue to learn the leadership aspects of those roles. Another question, what are the requirements, if any, to be considered for this program? So obviously, you have to have a 4-year degree. We like to see a 3.0 GPA, but that is not going to be an ultimate deal breaker. We like people that have had some type of retail experience, or at least understand or have had a job similar to retail. So maybe there's some heavy customer service involved, because ultimately, these are one of those things where if you get into it and retail is not for you, you'll find out pretty quickly. And we'd like to avoid, we'd like to get there before that time happens, right? Equally so, we like people who are involved in clubs, extracurricular activities, any kind of team sports, anything that showcases that you can work well with others. Because ultimately, this is not a me type of a job. This is a we. So you are part of a team. Yes, we are training you to be a leader, but you are still going to be leading a team that works with you, not necessarily for you, if that makes sense. Another question here from Paul. So what attracted me to the company and what has led me to stay? So I'll tell you, I don't know what attracted me to the company other than the fact that I was local in Hannaford, or local in Maine. I knew of Hannaford and there was a job available and I needed a job. What led me to stay were the people, the continued career opportunities, and the support that I felt. Granted, I only worked for Red Bull and another marketing company prior to coming to Hannaford, but people genuinely care about the associates in this company, and I think that's represented by the tenure of our associates. So I'm hitting 15 years this year, which I'm still a baby. We had a panel last week where the 3 panelists combined had over 125 years of experience with us. And that's not uncommon, right? Most people, once they get into our organization, they stay here because of the quality of the work. We feel good about what we do. It's just a great group of people to work for. So next question, where are the training stores usually? Are they just one state or are they various ones? Corey, great question. So we are in 5 states. In those 5 states, we have 14 districts. So how it works is if you get selected for the program, we'll offer you one of those districts. We will have already asked you, hey, what are the 3 regions that you might want to relocate to for your role? And then based on that, we might say, hey, we want to offer you the northern Maine, or we want to offer you Burlington, Vermont, or et cetera, et cetera. And then from there, ideally, you're either already centrally located in that district or you relocate to be centrally located. And then when you train, you could train in 4 to 14 different stores throughout the course of that time. We really like to have you see the entire district, learn the different teams, styles, because all of our stores are different. And ultimately, you may be you may be placed in one of those stores down the road. So we'd love to give you that that exposure. Is customer service or warehouse experience a good fit for the selection of a candidate? It totally can be. I mean, I've had people that we have hired who have degrees in criminal forensics, right? So it's really all about the person. And that's one thing we've always said about this program. We're kind of degree agnostic, right? We're not going to sit here and say you have to have a business degree or you have to have this or you have to have that. We want you to have a degree because it's showing you put some time and dedication into furthering yourself in your education. But whatever role you may have held, you may still have those skill sets. You just maybe couldn't demonstrate them there. So it would by no means be a deterrent. Again, I think it really is all based on how you present, show up, and what you want to do with yourself going forward, right? So Jeremiah asked a great question. How do I apply for the program in the Albany area? So right now, the way it's posted, it's you apply for the program. Should you get an opportunity to come to the final round of interviews, then we ask you, where would you want to live? And so if your first choice is Albany, your second choice is Lower Hudson Valley, and your third choice is just north of that, Mohawk Valley, if that's geographically where the Mohawk Valley is, I apologize if I offended anybody. Then we work on that with you when we come to a decision around where you would set up. But we do have a direct Albany facing market, one just north of the Albany market, and then one south as well. But you would apply to just the central application. Another great question here from Eric. Are RMTs assigned a district for all 3 years of the program, or do they work at a single store during years 2 and 3 when an assistant manager? So great question. First year, you are training all over the place in your district. When you're placed as an assistant, the assumption is you'll do kind of 2 stints, 1 center, 1 fresh, and ideally 1 in one store, 1 in another store. So you can really build those relationships with those teams to continue to be successful. Good question here. Opportunities to branch out throughout Ahold delays, or is it more focused just to Hannaford? So this program right now, we want to produce future leaders of the Hannaford brand, right? And within our greater organization. That said, if you come work for us and 3 to 5 years, you decide that supply chain or somewhere else in the greater brand is more up your alley, we would love for you to mature there too. The one thing that we're not necessarily a fan of is if you want to start with us and you think that by joining in the RMT program, this will get you a corporate office job in 1 year. That's not the truth. However, I think there are opportunities to take it and grow within the greater brands. So any special way to prepare for the upcoming interviews? So honestly, the best way to prepare is to learn about Hannaford, to learn about the company, and to understand what it is you want to do, right? These people who are interviewing you, they're seasoned leaders. They can tell if you have a passion for retail, if this is something that you want to do, if you want to be a leader. So it's finding ways that you can show up and present that to them, right? And if you can't present yourself to them, that's what I would work on trying to refine. So Chris asked a good question. Is there typically 1 trainee per district? Can there be more than 1? So in a perfect world, we'd love to have it balanced with 1 per district. That said, the last 3 years since I've been doing this, we've had a few in districts in the greater Portland market and in the greater Albany area because we have candidates that would really be great in those roles, and we find ways to make it work in the greater organization. So Lauren asked, how will we be notified if we were selected to interview? So thank you for that, Lauren. So if anyone has already applied, I apologize if I haven't directly gotten back to you. We're in a new applicant tracking system, which I'm still trying to figure out, to be quite frank. That said, I will be reaching out to conduct first round interviews starting in early December. So I'll be reaching out probably later this week, early next week, talking about early December, setting up those initial conversations, and then we'll go from there. One thing to point out, if you are an associate and work for us currently, I am not the final person to pass you on to final selection. Your local director of operations will do that final interview. However, any external candidate who does not work for us, myself and a peer, will do a first and second round interviews and be responsible for getting you across. Another question here from myself, because I shared the link inappropriately. Is it a hindrance to be not to be newly graduated? No, I don't think it's a hindrance to not be newly graduated. I think there are some benefits. Obviously, we're looking for people who have some technical skill sets that they could bring. So sometimes, if your degree is 20 years old, you may not be as well read on some of those newer technologies. That said, we're not going to necessarily discriminate against anybody just because you're 5 or 10 years out of school. I think there is something to be said based on, if you already work for us in your current career level of, is this the right path to get you to what you want to aspire to be in your next step? And those are some conversations that we can take offline, right? Because obviously, if you're already in a manager capacity for us and you're going to enter in a 3-year program, in some cases, I have people who are already assistant store managers that apply for this program. I'm like, well, if you're already in that role, why am I going to train you to do that role? And they want it because they want the mentorship and what comes with it. But there's other ways that we can find for them to support and continue to grow in the organization. So there's no open questions there. I did see one other question from Jennifer about what area would be closest to her. So Food Line is based out of Salisbury, North Carolina. And I guess from a Hannaford perspective, our closest locations would be New York. But that said, if you're in Louisiana, unfortunately, I'm not 100% familiar with that exact geography and placement for those stores. Do you have another question that just came in? If you're currently working for Hannaford and you get selected for the training, are you going to keep your position? Oh, yeah. So if you currently work for us, whatever you were doing, that job stops, and then you become a retail management trainee for us. And at that point, you're in the program, you're reclassified in that role, and that's your new title that follows you throughout those few years of training. Awesome. Does anybody else have any other questions? Just clarifying. Yes. So Mariel, yes. So ultimately, I will still be reaching out to all internal and external associates, scheduling conversations, trying to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to really decide, hey, is this something for me? And if it is, ultimately, yes, your regional director will reach out to schedule interviews sometime December or January regarding your candidacy. Any other questions for anyone else? I really appreciate everyone's interactions today. This was very helpful for me personally, and I hope it was helpful for you as you continue to explore different career opportunities as you are finishing school or as you're just looking to grow. And I thank you for your time today.